Okay, hi guys, welcome to the channel. This is Waga. We are going to continue building our SwiftUI, what's it called? Our SwiftUI Instagram clone. And what we're going to build today is we're going to work on the profile page, right? Now, the first thing, the home page or the main page, if you can call it that, the main page is not supposed to have the timeline of our user posts, right? What it's supposed to have is the timeline, not our user posts. So we need to correct that, right? And the first thing we need to do is we were just doing this so that we can get the dimensions right when it comes time to set up the various posts for the profile. No, the various posts for the timeline. It's pretty easy. So we have done a job that will be necessary in the future, but it's not necessary right now. So what we could do is we could come here and take this code, and we could just take all this code, right? And we could cut it and we could put it at the bottom. We'll probably end up using it somewhere a bit further forward in the future, and we could comment it out, right? And in its stead we could just come here and say var body some view like so, and we could say text, and this should be main. Let's capitalize the M like so, so that now we can get back to what we're supposed to do. So you chill a bit, wait for it to load, give it a second, and we should just see the word main now, right? Okay. Oh, it's logged. Okay, fine, it's logged in. I forgot it takes a second to check whether you're logged in or not. So basically we have our main. Now what we want to do is, like I explained before, this button that does nothing is supposed to log us out, right? And how we would do that is we would come to the profile page. So we come to the profile page, and we come to the profile page, and in the profile page the thing that you would notice is we brought in our user session, right? We put environment object var session.session store, right? So that you can get our image. The advantage of that is, if you can remember our session store, we have a method here called logout, this one, right? So how we would use it is we would come to, where is it, our profile. We would come here and we would say there's this button.fill is the leading, and this one is the trailing. Now for the trailing, we could come here and say self.session.logout like so. .logout like so. So now if we restart our app and we click on that button, we should be logged out automatically, or immediately rather. And give it a second. Okay, now we can attempt to log out, and we hit logout, and voila, we are logged out. So our logout works, right? And we can sign back in. We can say our name is password@gmail.com like so, and our password is password, right? So we can just enter our password and log in, and we should get main in a bit. In a second. Okay, fine. So our logout button works. Now the next thing we need to do, the next important thing, is we need to put why we made the profile view, it's so that we can put all the users' posts in one area. Like we want to be able, I don't know how we're going to deal with tagged, because this is supposed to show you the tagged post. When you switch to this tab, right, you're supposed to see the tagged posts, but we do not have a method of tagging. So I don't know what we're going to put here. But if you have ideas, let me know on what we can put here. Like, or we could create a tagged, and for that we would need to add posts, but we'll probably have to figure out search first so that it searches out the users. So it's something we could consider in the future, but we will have to go into our post model. We don't have a means of tagging a user, right? We only have the on ID. We could add an optional tag. Yeah, we could figure it out. Let's just leave it open, right? But for now we will leave this open until we figure out what to do with it. But this should show all the users' posts, and if you can remember, in the main we used to show the users' posts, but this will later on have our timeline, because most of the posts, you don't want to come to your main page, your main tab, and see your posts, right? Now the problem that I was wondering is, if we connect this to the sign out, and we come to a tab that is not the profile, will we be able to sign out? Like if we click on here, will we sign out? Let's try it. Okay, it works. Now you see our current predicament. We could say waga, no, I'm writing my email, sorry. We say password at gmail .com. So that's the issue with the tab and the navigation bar, which is giving me a headache. But anyway, all good, all good. We'll figure it out. And yeah, so I was saying that we don't know what to do with this, but we know what to do with this, right? So what we are going to do with it is we're going to display all the users' posts, right? And it's just going to be the image, not the entire post. Like, you won't be able to click and comment. You're just going to see the images that you've put up, the image only. You won't see the information. Like, you won't see, like, when you let's go to our main, and I can just look at the commented code. The only information that will be available will be this. Okay, where the hell is it? No, it's in the posts. We're loading our post card here. So the only information we will have is our image, right? We won't have the caption. We won't have the web image. No, the profile. We won't have the duration since it was last seen, the time. We won't have all the other information that is in a full image. It's just the image alone, no further information, right? And that's what we're going to do. So what we could do is we could come to the profile, and when we come to the profile, the first thing we're going to do is we need to create come here and say at observed object at observed object. Are we going to initialize? I don't think we're going to initialize. We could use observed object here, right? Let's try at state object, because it's only going to exist here, right? So it's fully owned by this struct. So we could use a state object, and we could say profile service, and this is going to be profile service, like so. And we've already covered that, and we're going to use the lazy, is it vgrid? Yeah, we're going to use the lazy vgrid, right? Now, to use it, the first thing we need to do is come here and say let, we're just going to call it unimaginatively 3 columns, because it's going to have 3 columns. And here we're going to have grid item and comma next to grid item, and you guessed it, next to grid item. I probably should do a video on lazy HStack and lazy VStack, so that I was just looking at the documentation today and figured how to use it today, so that I can, you know, I have a SwiftUI basics and I didn't get to the SwiftUI 2.0 stuff, right? So I should probably fix this up. And we can come down here, and after the picker we could check if the selection, because we created the selection a few videos back, if you can remember, the selection is 1, right? If selection, it starts off at 1, right? If selection is 0, like so, we want to use our lazy vgrid, like so. Our lazy vgrid, and lazy vgrid is going to have columns. Okay, let me just type it out. Okay, columns, like so, and it's going to be 3 columns, like this, and we're going to have a for each. I hope you can remember the code that we wrote in a few videos back, so that, or rather, you can just check the app that you built, or go back to that video, so that you can remember the method to put in the profile service. So profile service has an array called posts, right? But we can quickly look at it. So we go to profile service. Profile service is over here, and we have an array called posts, right? And we go back to, where do we go back? We go back to our, where were we? We were in the profile. I'm confused now. Okay, yeah, we were in the profile. So we check self.profile service.posts, and of course they need an identifier. So we could say ID, and this one is pretty simple. We could just get the post ID, like so, and post ID, like so, and we're going to come here and we're going to say, have a closure. We could say post in, and we are going to come here and say web image, like so, and the URL in question. Make sure you import the SD web image SwiftUI. I hadn't done it. I had done it when I was testing it out, so I forgot to remove it so that I can, when I'm recording. I did it before I recorded, so make sure you have the import SD or you'll get an error. So we could say here URL, like so. You have to make sure the code works before you start recording your screen, right? That's why I really hate live codings, because you coding live, you forget to do stuff and you get lots of errors and you end up wasting the time of people looking at it. It's better for you to try it out and then sort everything out and come and do it almost flawlessly. So we could say post dot media URL, that's where it is, and we're sure there's going to be something here, and this is going to be resizable like so, and the aspect ratio is going to be dot fill like so, and you need to play around with the numbers a bit, and we're going to have a frame. The frame is going to have a width. Why isn't it helping me? The frame is going to have a width, and the width is going to be UI screen dot main dot bounds dot width, and because we have 3 columns, we're going to divide it by 3, and for the height, why is help the first thing that is suggested? Height is going to be UI screen dot main dot bounds dot height, and let's do the same. Let's make it divisible by 3 like so, and just make sure that there's no space between that. Okay, so let us try running things and see what it looks like. Give it a second, and it should load. You see, the code that we used a lot. Okay, yeah, the code that we used to make the main can similarly be used to show our posts, right? And if we switch to, I believe it starts off with which tag is it? It initializes with tag 1, and this is tag 1. So if we go to 0, we should get our code. And the reason we do not get our code is pretty darn simple. It's because we are not putting the on up here, right? We're not putting the on up here. That's why it's not loading. And to get the on up here, we could just use the code from the main. Let's go to main, like so. And we could say on up here, like so. We could just copy it. Copy. And go to profile. And over here, is it? Let's just check. On the scroll view, right? And we're going to come here and we're just going to say paste this, remove this like so, and now we're going to load the user posts and then pass in the user. Are we passing in the user ID? Do we have the environment? Yes, we have the session, so it knows who it is. So let's load this, and hopefully now we will have better luck, right? Okay, give it a okay. Why is it complaining? There seems to be an error. Expected instruct. Okay, let's just close it out like so. Save and run it again. I think we took out one. Yeah, one closing brace. Okay, fine. Let's log in, and it should start with nothing. We should see our images, and our images look decidedly hideous. Oh, okay, but at least we see them. So let's figure that out and come back. We just check here and type .clipped like so, and save it and come back, and maybe now our images should be more in line with what we have in mind. And okay, let's come back here, and yeah, we have a better looking grid with a bit of space around it, and they seem a bit big. Let's reduce the height. Could we halven them? Could we do this? It's just a test. I haven't tried that out in advance. No, it's like live coding, like I said, the terror. Let's see how it goes and see if we can, come on. It's taking forever. And they look a bit, okay. The ratio seems messed up, right? So let's just go back to 3. Okay, fine. So basically that's that. And yeah, and we can continue from, let's just have a look at it. And then we sort out maybe we find a way of showing maybe the user count, and we can say that we're more or less done with this page, right? So basically this looks okay. This looks a bit better. They're less long. Okay, is Let me just log in. Password at gmail.com. The reason I'm logged out is because I was testing a problem that I was encountering, and I finally figured out how to fix it. Pretty easy though, not too significant. So when we come to our main.dat, of course we have the images loading, and we could put every single one of the user's posts on this tab, right? We could put it, if the selection is changed, we could put the posts underneath here, right? And that will present a problem which we will then proceed to fix, right? So let's pick our, where does this thing end? Okay, it ends here. So after that we could come here and we could say else. We could check and we could put a scroll view. Basically the code is the same as what we had in the main.swift when we were checking out, when we were building the look of it. So we could come here to the scroll view. If you commented out your code, right, you could just copy it, and I'll give you a second. Maybe you deleted the code because it's not the final code, but I'll give you a second to look at it. So basically what we have is a VStack. You could check I think the previous video, the video before that, one of those that has this so we basically have a post, and we're going to return a postcard image, where we pass in our post, and after that we are going to pass in the post to the postcard, right? So basically that, and I'm doing this slowly so that you can see the code. So basically that for each, and we post the post. We've gone over this code before, right? So we could save that and run this, and we should encounter a problem. But the problem is not so straightforward. It's a bit nuanced, right? And the problem is, give it a second, it's logged in. The problem is that when we click here, we get our post, and it's all fine and dandy, as you can see, works as you would expect. The problem is when we come and try and log out, right? So when I hit the logout button, let me hit the logout, the app is going to break, right? Okay, why isn't it breaking? You see it's frozen. Yeah, and it comes and tells us that when we load our post, we expect to check whether the posts are, whether there is liked of the post, so that we know how to render the number of hearts and whatnot during the initialization. So the issue, how we would fix this, is pretty simple. If you can think about it, if you can go back to our self.session, what it needs here is that there is no longer a current user, because we say the current user will always be there, right, when we're initializing the posts. How we would fix it is the same way we fixed it when we were in what's it called, that if we go to the content view, right, same way we fixed it. We check that the session is not nil, right? So how we could do that is we would come back to our profile like so, and before we run the scroll view, we could check, we could have another if statement. We could say if, and remember we are bringing in the self.session to get the user, so that we can get the user's image, right? So we have the user's image and the user's name, right? So we could also use the fact that there's a user, and if you remember how we named it a bit clumsily, because, well, the honest reason why I named it self.session is because the documentation does name itself .session, right? So perhaps you're a bit more enlightened and can see further ahead in the road and can give it a better name. But the documentation, or rather the article I suggested in the video, named itself .session. So we say self.session. This one basically says that there's a user, and this is not equal to nil. If this is not equal to nil, because the VStack, this struct expects to render a view, we have to render something. We can't just say nil, right? We could say is nil. We're just going to return nothing, and for us to return nothing, it has to conform to the view protocol, right? And so the nothing we're going to return is going to be a text, which is an empty string, right? And else, we're going to put an else here in the scroll view, right? So the scroll view is going to come if and only if there is most certainly a user, right? So for that, to sort that out, we could just run it. Let's run it, and we can see our code if we run it now. And now the error of it breaking will disappear, hopefully. Give it a second. It loads. Come on. Okay. Oh, I logged out. I forgot. I did log out. The logout is registered, right? But it doesn't. We don't go to the logout screen, right? So I need to log in. Sorry. Yep. So I could say password like so. Hit sign in, let the magic happen, and it comes back, and now we have our code. And now if we sign out, voila, we come back to our login page, right? and we can repeat the process to make sure that the problem that we encountered is not affecting us anymore. Let's say password like so. Give it a second to hit Firebase, comes back to the main, we come to our profile, hit the logout, and boom, it works. Thanks for watching this video. We have covered what we wanted to cover today. We handled we were able to show some of the users' posts and the users' content, and the reason we're not going to implement the follow right now is because it's I wanted to hook up the ability to follow. We currently are reading these followers from we're just hard coding it, right, rather than reading it from the backend. I'm thinking that the best way to do this is to actually include the ability to follow people first, so that we can use that collection to include followers, right? So we set up the entire collection for followers and following, and enable it such that when we come to search and we look for a user and we get them, we can follow them, right? So when we fix that up, that's when we're going to fix this followers and following, and that can happen in the next video. But I think what we covered today was pretty adequate, and we can call it a day. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Like the video, it helps a lot, and leave a comment in the comment section if you have any. I'll see you in the next video.